The revelation that's changed my life is the media are part of the control apparatus.
Less than 24 hours after AOC suggested in an interview with Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary under the Biden administration, that the government regulator should investigate Tucker Carlson was fired. This dismissal came shortly after Tucker Carlson stated in a podcast interview that the media is controlled by a powerful system designed to keep the viewers uninformed. Is there more to this story than meets the eye?
Federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't. And when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very, very clearly incitement of violence.
Tucker Carlson was terminated from Fox News Monday morning. This was initially celebrated by Democrats who believed his commentary would be silenced. However, of course, it's likely that he'll find another job or create his own platform. In the past, Carlson mentioned leaving Fox could actually grant him more freedom and potentially boost his popularity. However, that remains to be seen, especially since when James O'Keefe was ousted from Project Veritas, the organization began to struggle with a decrease in Twitter engagement and people questioning, hey, where's James O'Keefe? Now, it's still unclear if James O'Keefe can now retain the same kind of influence he had before when he was part of Project Veritas. Clearly, though, the trend to cancel Fox News is starting, as seen in Twitter's trending section with the headline, "Done with Fox." So, now we have to ask ourselves, though, if Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon are fired, and they both lost their jobs within an hour of each other, did this firing happen purely by chance? Did they know this firing was coming? Or is there more at play? Are potentially the same elites who were in charge of the ouster of James O'Keefe now leading to the end of Tucker Carlson, at least as it is on Fox News, potentially also Don Lemon? Is this all a coordinated attack on the way the media provides information to us, or is this being designed to help our media? Well, let's investigate. First, to determine if this came as a surprise or not, it's worth looking at Tucker Carlson's website and then Don Lemon's Twitter and the letter that Don Lemon wrote. First, when we look at Tucker Carlson's website, it seems pretty clear that Tucker Carlson is still pitching his Fox News show, Fox News videos, and even mentions, hey, if you want to watch the latest, check out Tucker Carlson tonight. So clearly Tucker Carlson hasn't had time to update his website, and neither has Don Lemon when it comes to his Twitter. Here you can see Don Lemon's Twitter still indicating that he's the co-anchor at CNN This Morning, and of course, in a letter from Don Lemon, it's pretty clear Don Lemon was not expecting this. I was informed this morning by my agent that I was terminated by CNN. He wasn't even told this directly. I'm stunned. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I have loved at the network. It is clear that there is some larger issue, or there are some larger issues at play. This right here is exactly what's leading to a lot of theories that, yeah, maybe this is a lot larger than all of us actually think it is. Maybe this is more than just CNN versus Fox. Maybe this is the media elite or potential current political administrations controlling narratives the way they want. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the work many teams and I have worked on with for an incredible run. They are the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them all the best. That's a nice ending, Don Lemon. And it seems to reiterate the surprise that Tucker Carlson must have felt when, after all, he said this on Friday, suggesting he would be back on Monday, where he was supposed to be interviewing the presidential candidate Vivek.
We'll be back. By the way, the entire episode of Let Them Eat Bugs, not quite as good as pizza, streaming now on Fox Nation. Use the promo code ORIGINALS for 30 days free. And we'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, have the best weekend with the ones that you love, and we'll see you then.
Was this potentially a coincidence? Was it just a fluke that both Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon were fired within an hour of each other? Or is there a larger elite controlling the real picture? Well, let's take a look at exactly what Tucker Carlson said on the Nelk podcast.
I've spent my whole life in the media. My dad was in the media. Like, that is a big part of the revelation that's changed my life, is the media are part of the control apparatus. Like, there's no, yeah, I know. Cause you're younger and smarter and you're like, yeah. But what if you're me and you spent your whole life in that world, and to look around and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. Not only are they part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq war. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that?
Well, what do you think? What is one of your biggest regrets in your career?
Oh, defending the Iraq war.
That is it?
Well, I've had a million regrets, not being more skeptical, calling people names when I should have listened to what they were saying. Look, when someone makes a claim, there's only one question that's important at the very beginning, which is the claim true or not? So I say, you committed murder, or you rigged the last election. Before you attack me as a crazy person for saying that, maybe you should explain whether you did it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for too long, I participated in the culture where I was like, anyone who thinks outside these pre-prescribed lanes is crazy, is a conspiracy theorist. And I just really regret that. I'm ashamed that I did that. And partly it was age, partly it was the world that I grew up in. So when you look at me and you're like, yeah, of course they're part of the means of control, I'm like, that's obvious to you because you're 28, but I just didn't see it at all. And I'm ashamed of that.
Isn't that what the media tries to do, though?
It's their only purpose.
Right.
They're not here to inform you. Really? Even on the big things that really matter, like the economy and war and COVID and like things that really matter that will affect you. No, their job is not to inform you. They are working for the small group of people who actually run the world. They're their servants. They're their Praetorian Guard. And we should treat them with maximum contempt because they have earned it.
Here, Tucker Carlson clearly implies there's a powerful group of individuals, influential individuals, who potentially control both sides of the media narrative, left and right. And this makes us scratch our head. Maybe there was some kind of coordination between the two. All of these comments by Tucker Carlson are eerily similar to what I felt when I ran for governor. While I ran for governor, I had to send CNN a cease and desist letter because they falsely claimed no other candidates were running against Gavin Newsom on the same side of the ticket, which wasn't true. I was clearly operating a campaign, and when I threatened to sue CNN, they revised their article. I went on to earn nearly 1 million votes in the election against Gavin Newsom. Now, listen to AOC, though, and her comments on the Jen Psaki show, which came just last night. Remember, Jen Psaki used to work for the Biden administration. AOC is clearly a Democrat who leans heavily left. She's deemed to be part of the progressive caucus.
Federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't. And when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very, very clearly incitement of violence. Very clearly incitement of violence. And that is the line that I think we have to be willing to contend with.
But then you have people who say, but why Don Lemon then? Well, people respond and say Don Lemon has been critical of Biden administration officials and has quote unquote grilled people like John Kirby on TV. He's also been criticized for his commentary on Nikki Haley. In fact, he was sent to formal training for suggesting she was past her prime.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Here's the Associated Press piece showing you that Don Lemon had to go to formal training at CNN after this. Of course, that formal training didn't help him out much when he ended up arguing pretty dang heavily with Vivek, who was supposed to appear on Tucker Carlson today, which is quite interesting, but just recently between their interview that, well, let's just say didn't go so hot.
So, with due respect, I find your explanation reductive and actually insulting, including to black Americans, to say that black people today, compared to 1964, 1865, haven't made progress in part because of the freedoms we secured. And the Second Amendment was
black
part
people,
of what secured
hang on,
that
please.
freedom.
I cannot keep a thought if you guys are talking to me in my ear. So hang on 1 second. So to say that black people, say what you said again.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
They
That's
were
a
not
fact.
secured their freedoms after the Civil War. That is not, you are discounting Reconstruction, you're discounting a whole host of things that happened after the Civil War when it comes to African Americans, including the whole reason that the Civil Rights Movement happened is because black people did not secure their freedoms after the Civil War, and that things turned around. People tried to change the freedoms that were supposed to
And you know
happen
how they
after the
got
Civil
it?
War
They got their
and
Second Amendment
Reconstruction.
rights, and they actually got, the NRA played a big role in that. But today, down the fine...
The NRA did not play a big role
absolutely,
in
they
that.
trained
That
black Americans
is
how
a
to use
lie.
firearms.
That's a lie. That's
But
not. The
it's
NRA
actually-
did not play a big role in
This
that.
is just historical fact.
It's
but
not
down
historical fact.
the part that I
Just
find...
because you say it's historical
the
fact,
part that
it's
I
not
find
historical fact.
insulting is when you say today black Americans don't have those rights after we have
The
gone
fact
through
that I find
civil rights
insulting
revolution in
is
this
that
country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I
know
have
the
a different
freedoms
point
that
of view.
black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without
shouldn't
me
express your
regarding
views,
you as a
but I think
black
it's
man,
insulting that
but
you're
me
sitting
regarding you
here,
as a fellow citizen.
That you're
That's what I
sitting
think we should
here,
see.
whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me
Whatever ethnicity I am,
about
I'll
what
tell
it's
you-
like to be black in
Whatever
America.
ethnicity I am,
I'm
I'll tell
sorry.
you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white, doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
the
but I think
content
you should-
of the
if you're
ideas.
going to do it, you should do it in an honest way and in a
I
fair
think-
way. And what you're doing is not an honest and fair way. Okay? But we appreciate you coming on.
With
Thank
due
you for
respect,
that.
Don, I look forward
Thank
to
you very
continuing
much.
that
I appreciate
conversation.
it. We'll
Thank
continue
you.
the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Papa.
We'll talk about China.
Yes, let's talk about
Next
China.
time you come back.
Oh, thank you. Much to say on declaring independence from China.
Okay,
Something you
can
can
we
add
move on now, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As for Tucker Carlson, he was one of the hosts upset with Fox's handling of election fraud coverage, as evidenced by discovery released during the Dominion lawsuit. Text revealed by the Washington Post show his frustration with the network's handling of the election-related stories. He went as far as saying in a text released through Discovery that, quote, "We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait." He cast doubt on some of the characters promoting falsehoods like Sidney Powell on the channel, and this was in contrast to some of the other members at the Fox Corporation. You did have Paul Ryan, a board member and former Speaker of the House, who actually ended up echoing the sentiment of Tucker Carlson, that we had to be careful in trying to get views over long-term credibility. But texts on the other parts of Fox News Network indicated some people weren't so happy with the potential to doubt election fraud claims. In text messages revealed, Laura Ingraham suggested that there were Fox News reporters who were, quote, "vicious liberals," and worried that their desire to fact-check election conspiracy claims were actually leading to a reduction in viewership, which meant that her channel or her views were being sandbagged by potential people who weren't airing all of the election fraud claims. So in other words, Tucker Carlson, Paul Ryan doubting election fraud claims, Laura Ingraham basically saying it's not our job to fact check, we need to do what the viewers want, and the CEO, Susan Scott of Fox Corporation, also made it very clear. "We cannot smirk at our viewers any longer," she said. She went as far as saying, "I can't keep defending these reporters who don't understand our viewers and how to handle stories." In other words, give the viewers what they want. Why fact check the information? Just give the viewers what they want. So yeah, it's possible that all of a sudden Tucker Carlson got canned for these statements, but why wasn't Laura Ingraham or Sean Hannity potentially canned? What about, on the other side, Don Lemon? We've known about this issue for months. The sexual assault allegations against Don Lemon from years ago were dropped back in 2018 when somebody basically realized, okay, yeah, maybe bribing a witness to testify that Don Lemon was a perp is a bad idea, and the judge threatened to sanction the individual with over $70,000 in fines, and all of a sudden the person had a memory recollection that, oh, maybe Don Lemon isn't a pervert and I'm going to drop my lawsuit. That's what happened, by the way. At least that's what we're being told. But the question is, why all of this now? Why would Nikki Haley's comments or this old information about Don Lemon lead to a firing within an hour of Tucker Carlson getting fired? And why would these Dominion texts, which have been known for 3 to 4 months, matter now, today, April 24th on a Monday morning? It seems odd. A lot of folks are suggesting that maybe either government intervention is likely, like a letter or phone call from the federal Communications Commission, forcing these companies that they are willing to prove that they will be compliant and promise big changes and some kind of massive shakeup. Or the media is controlled by a much darker and more sinister organization than any of us believe. Now, hopefully going forward, we'll continue to have platforms to discuss our opinions directly with our audience. That's why personally I love bringing content to you here on YouTube, and hopefully if you appreciate the insight and perspective, you like and share the videos. Remember, Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon, they might end up on their own shows. Maybe they'll even move over to contracts with Rumble or Daily Wire, Blaze, or otherwise. It doesn't really matter. To me, what matters is that maybe there's something a lot bigger going on, and it makes me nervous. But what I can do in the meantime is be optimistic that the truth is out there, and I'll do everything to keep hunting down that truth. And I hope you support me in that endeavor. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Good luck.